everyone, and welcome to episode 3 of the Knitty Heather podcast. My name is Heather, and I'm coming to you from Kent, Washington, where I live with my husband and our Cavalier King Charles Spaniel. If you have any questions about anything I talk about, please leave a comment below, but I also have everything written in the show notes in the down bar as well. So if you have any questions, let me know. I'd be happy to answer them. And if you'd like to follow me, I am at Knitty Heather on Instagram. Today is Sunday, May 17th. This is my podcast where I chat about all my yarny adventures and everything I learn about knitting and a little bit of crochet, but anything to do with the fiber world. I started knitting back in 2012. I kind of taught myself on YouTube through some videos. I've just been obsessed with everything to do with the craft ever since. So thank you for joining me. If you are a new viewer, welcome. I'm glad to have you. And if you are a returning viewer, welcome back. I am so happy that people have been loving the podcast and hoping to really start creating a community with just everybody else like me who loves the craft of knitting and anything to do with the fiber arts. So let's get started. Today I am wearing the Over and Over cowl by Church Mouse Yarns and Tees. This is one of my very favorite cowls that I absolutely wear all the time. It is a very simple 2-row repeat. That's why they call it the Over and Over. And this pattern actually does come with instructions to make a larger infinity loop as well. Church Mouse Yarns and Tees is a local to me yarn store on Bainbridge Island. I sadly can't say that I've ever been there, but once things return to normal in our world, I have every intention of hopping the ferry and going to visit them over there because they really do have a wonderful set of patterns, wonderful yarns, and I would love to actually go there in person someday. The yarn I used is from Yarn Love. It is their Jane Austen base with just a little bit of stellina. You can hopefully see, here's what I have left, a little bit of sparkle. And it is the colorway Squirrel Fish. Today I am also wearing a plain vanilla sock with the Fish Lips Kiss Heel. This yarn is by Arancania. It is their Huasco base in the colorway Chameleon. I bought it at Sin City Knit Shop in Las Vegas when I was there a little over a year ago. And it's not a yarn I would have normally chosen for socks because it's 100% superwash merino. There is no nylon. But I couldn't resist this colorway, and they've actually held up quite nicely in the wash. The yarn I chose for the toes and heel that I thought went really nicely is just a pink color from Cascade Heritage. Now I'd like to start talking about some happy mail I received in the last couple weeks. I am so excited about this first one. This is a Hamilton bag by Fate's Thread. She is out of Sumner, a very local to me maker out of Sumner, Washington. And if you're familiar at all, I said I was a huge musical fan. And if you're familiar at all with the Hamilton musical, you will recognize this kind of woody yellow background with all the characters. We've got, I think, Alexander right there, Eliza, George Washington, Angelica, Peggy, the Marquis de Lafayette, King George, and Aaron Burr. And I just think these little characters are adorable. I can't even handle how cute this bag is. As soon as I saw it in her Etsy shop, I just had to pick it up. It is so much fun, and I can't wait to put a pair of socks in it and start using it. Again, this was Fate's Thread Sinead, and I'm so happy to support a local maker, and she has a ton of awesome fabrics, a ton of inventory in her shop, so I highly encourage you to check her out. The other piece of happy mail I got was from a very sweet gal named Jennifer. Her company is called Bump on a Hill, and I got these super cute Starbucks Progress Keepers. One, as you can see, is a hot beverage, and the other is a cool beverage in their clear container. And I just thought these are going to be so fun. This is Bump on a Hill out of Maine. And she also sent a Maine Progress Keeper. How cute is that? And a sweet little thank you note, handwritten thank you note, and a little baggie of goodies, some tea and some Werther's Original Caramels, which I just thought was so nice of her. So thank you very much, Jennifer. You are a beautiful maker. I just happened upon her shop on Etsy. I was really impressed with everything she had in her shop, and I can't wait to use my new Starbucks Progress Keepers on my next projects. So I do have a couple FOs this week. I was able to finish 2 objects. My first is my Pure Joy shawl by Joji Locatelli. I think this turned out to be the perfect size for me. I usually like to kind of wrap it around like this, just around my neck, and so it's perfect size for that. And it actually will go well with this navy blue sweater I'm wearing too. But this is, again, Pure Joy by Joji Locatelli. It's got all these different wedges. The instructions say the first 6 are, you know, your main color, and then you finish off with your contrasting color. But I have seen where people have done kind of the main color wedges in different colors. It'd be a good way to use up some minis or any extra scraps you have, and then still kind of kept consistent with the contrasting color. My next finished object is my Snuggle Down Cowl. This was a gradient kit from Legacy Fiber Arts, paired with their Cloud Silk Mohair in the color Pewter. The gray silvery pewter color held throughout, really kind of evens everything else out and kind of is, you know, a strong note throughout the whole project that kind of ties it all together. This was the Burgundy kit. There's 7 different colors. You hold the mohair the whole entire time and then switch between each of these 7 fingering weight colors. And it's super comfortable. I'll insert a picture here. It's the perfect item to wear like tucked under your coat, I feel like. And it'll be really comfortable and warm and snuggly, hence the name Snuggle Down Cowl. I have not blocked this yet. I think I will try to block it, just give it a quick wet block to even things out. I'm really happy with how it looks. This was my bind off edge, and I did go up 2 needle sizes when I bound off. I did the whole thing, I think, on a size 7, and then I bound off on a size 9 just to really make sure that it was even, and it looks pretty even with my cast on. So I'm very happy with it. Glad to add it to my wardrobe, and it will definitely keep my neck nice and warm this fall and winter as well. Now time for some whips. I have no less than 5 sock whips on the needle right now. I know I've got 3 that have challenged myself to do consistently every single month. The first is from Yarnable, their subscription box. The next is from the Cozy Knitters Yarn of the Month Club. And then I also am participating in Desert Vista Dye Works Sock Club, where you knit a pair of socks each month with one of her colorways. So those are the 3 that I for sure try to get done every month. And then I did pull 2 others out of my languishing whip basket, which I'll talk a little more about in a second. I have a half finished object already with this month's Yarnable color. This is called Spring Love. Here it is in the cake. Beautiful light purple wash with green and dark purple speckles. The pattern I'm doing is Hermione's Everyday Sock by Erica Luder of Dreams in Fiber. And I really love this delicate texture. I started with a 1x1 rib, and she has you do an eye of partridge, heel flap, and gusset. And I tried this sock on last night, and it fits really, really nicely. Kind of a rounded toe. And on my second one, I just finished the cuff last night. So well on my way to get going with the next one. I should have no problem finishing these by the end of the month. This is probably my favorite Yarnable colorway that I've gotten so far. Again, this is Spring Love. And I thought that this texture would be just enough to highlight the yarn, but not too crazy. I feel like the yarn is still able to speak for itself, which I like. Socks are probably my favorite thing to knit, and well, they are my favorite thing to knit. And I just love how this texture complements the subtle speckles and dye style of this yarn. I think it's just gorgeous. But I got it done so fast because I was just so in love with it. And I do like the 1x1 rib. I haven't used that as much on my socks, but it looks really nice and clean. So I may be using that a little bit more often. The cast on I use for my cuff down socks is usually the German twisted or Old Norwegian cast on. And there's lots of tutorials on YouTube if you're interested in how to do that. It's pretty much like the slingshot method of a long tail cast on, but with just a few extra steps to make it extra stretchy. Next, I'll talk about my cozy knitter. This colorway is called Hippity Hop. And last time I did not have the heels on yet, and I've worked quite a bit up the leg. I'll probably do a couple more repeats of the striping pattern before I start the cuff. I did a fish lips kiss heel, which I really love for some reason with this yarn. It just looks really nice and fits really nicely on my feet. I love these happy springy colors. This Progress Keeper is from Simply Serving. I love her little cupcake based Progress Keepers. They're so cute, and I thought this one went really perfectly. Very happy, very springy, reminds me of Easter, so I think the name Hippity Hop for this colorway is absolutely perfect. I have plenty of the kind of light green mini to do the cuffs with. So like I say, I think I'll work up a few more inches on the leg and then do a 2x2 rib cuff for these. I did Judy's Magic cast on for these toes and followed the directions for the fish lips kiss heel exactly. That is an excellent pattern if you are looking for an alternative to other short row heels. The Fish Lips Kiss Heel by Socks Therapist is wonderful. It's a pretty meaty pattern. It's about 15 pages or so, I think, but it's only $1. And she gives you so much helpful information for sock knitting in general that it's totally worth it. This is definitely my go-to short row heel for now. So those are my Cozy Knitter Yarn of the Month Club socks. Next are my Desert Vista dye works. This is the colorway West Side Story, kind of going on with my theater lover theme here. Turn my Donut Progress Keeper. This Donut Progress Keeper is from Suker Miniatures. I have a whole bunch of stitch markers, and the reason for that is I am doing an afterthought heel this time. So I've marked the first and last stitch of this half of the round, and then I knit the next round and marked the middle stitch, and then I marked the first and last stitch of that half of the following round again. So I have two stitch markers that just have one row in between them. That row in between is actually the row, this stitch that I've marked in the middle is the actual stitch I'm going to snip after I pick up the stitches of the row above and below it. And then you pretty much do a toe for the heel. Usually I like to do about 4 rounds of plain knitting, and then I follow the method from Susan B. Anderson's Smooth Operator Sock. And then there's a video tutorial from Kirby Werby that talks a lot about that. But so here's where the heel will be. Here's my cuff. It will be kind of right in the middle of this red stripe. So when I'm done, when I've gone all the way down to the toe, I will probably find red in the yarn again and pick it back up with the red. I think that'll look nice. The pattern I am using for this has columns of slip stitches. It's called the Pinstripe Sock by Julia Swart. And this is another really good, just a little bit beyond vanilla sock. I will definitely probably make more socks using this pattern. I have, I think maybe about 20 more rounds or so before I close up the toe. And then these guys will be done. As I said, I've gone a little bit sock crazy with my whips. I pulled 2 pairs out that I started, I think probably last fall. I just decided to take them back out and give them a little bit more love. The first, this is Regia Design Line by Arnie and Carlos. The colorway is called Fall Night, and I believe the number is 3655. I did go down a needle size for these. I am using a US, I think size 1.5, 2.5 millimeter needle because I thought the striping was so intricate. As you can see, some, you know, barely go beyond 1 round, that I didn't want to lose any of that effect. And so I thought, well, I'll go down a needle size and hopefully that'll help to make all the stripes come out nicer than my typical 2.75 might have been a little bit too wide to make this yarn shine like it deserves to. This is just a basic vanilla toe up with Judy's Magic Cast On. I think I will do another afterthought heel. Try to find a good spot in the yarn depending on where the heel ends up. This is kind of an unpredictable, I don't really know what each stripe is going to look like, which makes it kind of exciting to knit. So we'll just have to see when I get it long enough for my foot what color I may want to try to find in the yarn for my afterthought heel. So again, this is Regia Design Line by Arnie and Carlos. And I thought these will be perfect for the fall. I'm already kind of starting to think about fall knitting for some reason, but I was attracted to these colors. The next one I am doing in tandem. This is Must Stash yarn. Stacy out of San Antonio. Love her yarn. She is another one of the self-striping masters. I'll hold it up the right way. This is, I did cuff down, traditional heel flap and gusset. This one has more of a slip stitch heel. The colorway is called Vespa, and I just could not resist picking these guys back up. The official pattern I am using is called Go Your Own Way Socks by Stacy Winklepleck of Knit Picks. It's kind of a fun pattern. She gives you instructions for doing cuff down or toe up. I am doing cuff down. I think I did 20 rounds of 2x2 ribbing, heel flap and gusset, and I'm just working a little bit. I think on these I have about 20 or 30 more rounds for the foot as well before I start the toe. I am doing them in tandem and they're matching up pretty darn well. So I'm really pleased. I usually do about 10 rounds on one and then pick up the next one and do 10 rounds on it, just to kind of keep pace with each other. But how can you not be happy with these colors? I love this colorway. Again, Mustache yarn, totally another one of the masters of self-striping yarn. She usually has shop updates every Tuesday and they go by super quickly. She sells out really, really fast. So if you are ever at all interested get on there early Tuesday mornings, and she always has something surprising in her shop. All kinds of cool different colorways. Highly, highly recommend. As I mentioned, I did a little diving in my WIP basket. I'm trying to get a little bit of control over it and finish some things that I sort of started this last fall. The first project is called the Workday Scarf by Sue Flanders. It's just a very delicate, lacy scarf. It will increase to be fairly wide at the center. She gives you a certain number, and I'll definitely at least work up to that number, but I may make it a little bit wider as well. So pretty little lace on the edge. I also did a nice slip stitch edge, which is achieved by slipping the first stitch purlwise with the yarn forward and then putting it back to continue knitting. And I think that looks really nice and clean. This colorway I'm obsessed with. It is absolutely gorgeous. This is from one of my local yarn stores called A Little Knitty. It is their private label diamond base, and the colorway is called Where You Lead, I Will Follow. This one has some red speckles and very, very few black speckles. It looks so pretty. I just think this is such a lovely colorway. It's 100% superwash merino. And I think this will just look nice. I might gift it, but if I do keep it for myself, I think it'll just look nice over a black long sleeve shirt or gray, just to give it a little pop of color. So Workday Scarf by Sue Flanders. Very simple, really enjoyable knitting. Can't wait to pick it back up. I really have not touched these for months and months, but I'm excited to get going back with them. And my last languishing WIP I've decided to focus on is called Spectrum. This is also by Joji Locatelli. This is what you would call a proactive lifeline. It's just a piece of scrap fingering weight yarn so that if I mess up, I can at least go back and pick those stitches back up. I have a whole list of shawls that I want to make from Joji, and so this is kind of the next one on the list. As you can see, I'm really kind of loving this peachy pink color. This one is the Plucky Knitter. It's her solo base in the colorway Cecilia. See if I can get, there we go. Plucky Knitter. This was the first Plucky Knitter yarn I purchased, and I actually got it about a year ago now when I was on vacation in New York City I bought it at Knitty City, which is my favorite yarn shop in Manhattan. They're absolutely wonderful. Plucky Knitter Cecilia, and I am pairing that with, this is Zen Yarn Garden. It's a 90-10 superwash merino nylon base, and it's called Charcoal. And as you can see, it's got really, really nice gray, light gray to black tones. I think these will really pair nicely together. Again, I have not picked this up in months and months, but I think I did section 1, section 2, and I'm about to start section 3. And it is just complicated enough that I did want to be sure and use a lifeline. The Spectrum by Joji Locatelli. Loving it. I think this will be really nice. Well, I think that's about it for today. Thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. If you'd like to follow me on Instagram, I am at Knitty Heather. I'd love to connect with you there. And until next time, happy knitting.